Welcome to the first episode of A King to a Prince, the Royal Code. I am Corey the King.
I'm Amari the Prince.
Yes, sir. What's going on, boy? What's going on, son? I'm good. So how you feel about the first episode?
I'm feeling really good just because I've still been looking for some podcasts that's kind of like within this niche. I still haven't found nothing that's featuring like a father and son, kind of like touching on some of the topics that we gonna be touching on. I'm excited about that aspect of it, just to bring a new light to this, maybe like that bridging the gap type of podcast, bridging the generations. Because I know it's a lot of people that's my age that could use some of the advice that's coming from your generation. Like, not all of us is really hard headed. Some of us actually want to like take some of that advice and like learn what we can. So I'm excited.
Exactly, and I think for me I think it's a necessity because of the perspectives, like a father and a son to a father, but at the same time, two men, you know what I mean? And I think it will also bridge the gap because there's a lot of fathers and son if you think they're disconnected, and I think a show like this will also show like, we have a lot in common, you know what I mean? Definitely. So I think that's the good thing about this. So I'm happy that we're able to do this. I'm happy I'm able to do it with you because honestly, for me, you are one of my biggest inspirations. You're one of my biggest motivations. Likewise, you know what I mean? So I think that's the good thing. And I think what people need to see is the realness. They need to see that we're not going to agree on everything. There's some things we're gonna see different and we're not gonna see eye to eye, but then there's a lot of things where we will have that common ground with, so I just want people to take from this, like you said, that to see how we bridge the gap, you know what I mean?
And I think it's crazy too that we doing it like a podcast kind of way, because that's how we were really like when we weren't agreeing on things, or you felt like I should be doing certain things, or I felt like I should be doing it this way. Like, we would just sit down and talk for hours. So it's like really just putting the camera and lights and all of that to it now, and we just getting a bigger perspective on some of the things that we'd be talking about anyway. So like, it's just
exactly.
I think it'll just be like a good way to gauge, like, all right, how are you able to navigate this space as a father, as a black man, as an older black man, as somebody that's done what I've done before, like somebody that had kids, like been married, like somebody that can just like show me the ropes of the things that I'm currently going through. I'm currently like, you done been 26, I'm 26 now, so like you already been this age, and you had me when you was this age, so like I'm just trying to figure out
younger.
I was running around by the time you was 26.
Yeah. So I think that's the good thing, man. I think, and it will actually show that, especially with the more and more we do, that people will get to see this. So
a lot of
my first question.
Oh, go ahead.
Huh?
I was about to say, it's a lot of father-son duos coming up in the media now. You got Dion and Shador. You got Bronny, Braun, Cayenne, Carmelo. So us joining that space, that's going to be fire.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be real cool. You know what I mean? All right, so my first question.
Oh, let me hear it.
Luka. What do you think about that whole situation?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was all for it. I was like, you know what? Luka, don't be playing defense. Kyrie can't we can't use AD, and then AD got injured. I was like, I'll trade him back. I was like, yo, put Rob back on the back. I was switching sides so quick because AD was looking good that first game. I'm like, yo, we could probably go back to the chip. AD at the 4, Gafford and Lively at the 5, Clay coming back, Kyrie running the point.
Yeah.
It was like dominoes. 1 fell, then 2 fell. Then it was like, right, let me get 3 in one game. And next thing you know, we looking at the bench and it's 2 players sitting next to Jason Kidd.
Yeah. And then to see. And then, because when Kyrie went down, it was just like, wow.
That was sad to see. Especially because, now, like, he's not going to get that extension that he was getting because people are a little bit worried about his knee. Like an ACL is not like, that's not like a twisted ankle. That's something that takes recovery.
Yeah, that's serious.
It takes physical therapy, all that. You got to adjusting. You got to learn how to land again, learn how to run a certain way, all that. And it's like, he's what, 33 this year? It sucks, man, because he definitely deserved that max money that he was about to get. But Luka looks nice over there. I'm not gonna hold you. He looks nice.
Yo, I'm telling you, it's like LeBron got his second win, man. Like it's sometimes it's actually like watching. Remember the Heat LeBron with Wade?
Yeah.
That's how it kind of gives me that feel. So I'm happy for Luka, man, because I just didn't like the way they did it, but they're kind of known for that because they did it to Harrison Barnes when they kind of got rid of him mid-game. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say that AD being hurt, Kyrie being hurt is karma, because I wish that on nobody, especially those, because they had nothing to do with
it, right?
With the trading, but I think the way the Mavericks go about winning or creating a dynasty, I think sometimes they look at it like everybody's a target.
Expendable, like anybody can go.
Exactly.
That's not
and I don't like that, man.
Especially when they 26, 5-time All NBA. Like, come on now.
Come on, man. Like, and and see, you're 26, so you're at that age, and I'm in my 40s. So it's like, at some point, once you start reaching your 30s and your 40s, and I'm a personal trainer, I exercise every day, but there are moments when there's certain exercises, full range, I may not be able to do that day. So you take it as a basketball player or a professional athlete, especially like football, basketball, baseball, hockey, any of those, soccer, any of those sports where you're in a constant motion, you're always prone for an injury. And sometimes injuries, you can bounce back quick. Sometimes, as we've seen, you bounce back. Some people have missed full seasons. You know what I mean? So I think
fine, like KD.
Yeah, exactly. But not everybody's like him.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I think when you do that, you get to a point where you're just looking about winning and looking about the culture of what you're trying to create, and you forget about the individual. And I think that's where I see certain teams, not just necessarily the Mavericks, but because they're in the news of trading Luka, AD being injured, Kyrie being injured, it's like now you just got Clay. He's all out there by himself.
I know we've
went through this with Clay before. It's like you put one player and put all that pressure on them, either one or two things are going to happen. They're going to uphold it or they're going to fold. And if they fold, it's not because of the pressure. They're folding because their body is just physically tired. They're drained.
And you disinterested. You know what I mean? He wasn't coming there to be a first option. He was coming there to be a catch and shoot guy. Like him.
And now that's what they're expecting of him now, to be that option.
Because they're like, we paying you $50 million. Like, you better go out there and shoot 20 shots. At least the bare minimum.
You better do what you got to do.
That's crazy.
All right, so let me ask you this. I know you saw in the news the whole LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith interaction.
I did.
What do you think about that?
It's difficult because, I went to school for that. I went to school to be a journalist, to be in that communications media space. So I understand where Stephen A. is coming from in a sense of, like, he's an NBA player. We got to speak about him, regardless of if he's your son. Like Tim Hardaway Jr. is a son in the NBA. We got to talk about him when he has a bad game. So I understand it. It's difficult because at the end of the day, you don't want to treat Bronny different and you don't want to cover him different. But it's difficult when it's LeBron James and he's still in the NBA. He's still
Exactly.
is affected by the media, because what people don't understand is like that narrative, lay GM or calling LeBron the GM or the coach and all of that feeds into the media, that feeds into how other players want to come and play for LA. And now what people are forgetting is they don't have to pay Luka the max contract. LeBron can pick up a player option. So it's about like who wants to come there now. And it's like if they hearing like this team is just like to push up Bronny, to pass the throne to Bronny, that could throw people away from possibly coming there and winning the championship. So I don't blame LeBron for like, leave that out. Like leave him out of this. He just got into the league. Y'all not speaking about the 54th or 53rd pick like this. So
exactly. That's a good point.
I understand both aspects, but also it's like the 53rd pick ain't the son of the GOAT. So
and see me, it's like the pros and cons for me, because I understand, like, I will be defensive over you and your sister till the day I'm gone, you know what I mean? But at the same time, y'all are both adults, so decisions that y'all make, especially when the public eye is on you, that's the perception that is created by you, not necessarily me. You understand what I'm saying? So, and like you said, you went to school for journalism. So when you covering a player, it's like and this is my point, it would be like if Bronny dropped 65 points, whether it's in a G League or an actual, the NBA game, we're gonna talk about it. If he only scored one free throw, we're going to talk about it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you can't just say, well, unless Stephen A. went to such a disrespectful point, which I don't know because I haven't heard everything, but you got to it comes with the territory. You understand what I mean? So it's
basically what Stephen A. was saying was LeBron put Bronny in this position unfairly by like saying like when he was still in college, he was saying like, my son could play in the NBA now. My son is better than a lot of these guys now. My son is this, my son is that. But it's like if you take away the aspect of LeBron being who he is, that's just a normal black father loving his kid.
Exactly.
You have said some crazy things at my basketball games that's like, that's just how you are.
I was ready to fight.
That's how you got to motivate me. That's how you showed that you were supporting me. So it's like, at the end of the day, any father is going to be that way. Because they had the same issue with LeVar Ball. LeVar Ball was saying that Lonzo was better than Steph Curry when Steph Curry was an MVP.
He was different.
Yeah, so it's like, LeBron was a little toned down with it a little bit, but it's like at the end of the day, that's how he felt. So I don't think that it was an unfair position for Bronny, because I think the NBA is full of nepotism anyway. You got juniors, you got kids, you got cousins, families, like any other profession. Like the same thing happens in the office world and corporate world. So
exactly, in business,
So you should expect to see that within the NBA and professional sports. We see it in baseball all the time. Ken Griffey Senior. You got Dion and Shador doing it now, and he got 2 more boys coming up. So it's like it happens in these professional sports. And as a scout or a recruiter or a GM, if you've seen greatness come from this last name before, you would be stupid to pass it up twice. So that's why Rob Pelinka's looking at it like, all right, I'm going to take this chance. This is the 55th pick. I'm not losing nothing with it, because with that same pick, I could have picked someone up. We could have dropped them, and we wouldn't even be talking about this pick no more. So,
and I think, honestly, overall, son, I think Bronny's going to be all right. I think he's going to pan out. I think he's going to pan out. Like, first of all, I can say he's a better ball player than me, so... But I think what's going to happen, don't laugh too much. So, I think, it's one of those things that he has to really find who he is, because he's also under his father's shadow. And as long as his father is in the NBA, because LeBron James, God bless him, he's defying all odds with his age and the way he's playing ball. And then bringing somebody like Luka over there, I think it gives him maybe even another year. I don't know after that, but I think I think it's now not necessarily so much about Bronny, but I also think it's about establishing Luka with this culture also, because Luka now is looking at LeBron as big brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To help him kind of get back to where it is. And, you know, I know a lot of people, they kind of, not necessarily fans, but they kind of doubted and counted Luka out. But if you look at Luka, the way his body transformation is happening, the way he's starting to play. And see, the thing about when you in big cities like New York City, LA, Atlanta, you know, Chicago, Florida, those type of cities, and not taking nothing away from Dallas, because but in Texas you got Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, you have different areas. But when you're around those major markets, you're around a different type of fitness regimen, you're around different type of people that's kind of going to give Luka, he can go all types of ways with it. So I think his body is going to transform in ways that we're going to be like, wow, we didn't expect or see this Luka from Dallas. You know, I think what happened was with Dallas, they were expecting too much out of a 26-year-old, you know, and for me, that 26-year-old showed up more than he didn't show up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So for them to kind of be like, we're going to get rid of you because what we're seeing is like, bro, how long has Luka been in the NBA?
6 years, if that. Yeah, 6 years.
Come on, man. Like that's, you know, they say quarterbacks, it takes quarterbacks 7 years to develop to become a great quarterback. Not every quarterback is a Mike Vick. Not every quarterback is a Cam Newton. Not every quarterback is like a Joe Montana or Steve Young, you know, from back in the days, or even what's the Eagles quarterback?
Oh, Hurts.
You know, some quarterbacks like Deion's son, I think he's going to be like that because he's developed early.
Yeah.
You know, but then we don't know because it's going to be a whole different caliber of game. You know what I mean? So he may have to adjust. Huh?
I think he's going to do well just because he's had a real NFL rookie scenario. Like, he done played with a battle line. He done had to make decisions in under 3 seconds or less due to the defensive pressure. So I think him getting to that next level with more skill around him with a little bit better players, he's going to shine in his rookie year.
He's going to be a better player.
We see that.
Yeah, because one thing, man, great players will make a average or a beginner player even great. It's just like, you know, you doing music, me being an actor. When you're around people that have been doing it for a while, you subconsciously pick up that same type of style and knowledge that they have. So you only really can go up with it. You know what I mean? So I hope to see the Luka that I expect him to be. You know what I mean? So I'm going to sit back and watch because honestly, I'm really liking the Lakers. I've always been a Lakers fan in the sense of Kobe and Shaq, but I've always been more like a Detroit fan or, you know, Clippers. I like the Bucks, you know, but of course I like the Lakers because of Kobe and Shaq, but I'm a LeBron fan too. So, you know, it's one of those things that I want to see them shine, and then I kind of want to see them shine a little bit more because of how they did Luka. You know, how the Mavs did Luka. So
I think the league is always better when the Lakers, the Knicks, the Bulls, the Celtics, when all those teams that like have historic backgrounds are good, like the league is better. Like the games feel more intense. They feel more playoff intensity. So it's like that's good to see when all those teams are doing good. I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you about my Knicks though. JB getting hurt for 2 weeks. we might go from the.
Oh, Jalen is hurt.
Hey man, he went out with a ankle sprain, I think, for like 2 weeks now against the Lakers actually.
Oh wow, no wonder I didn't see him. Oh, okay, that's what happened, man. Even my boy Wembanyama, man, like that.
That's the saddest injury of the season for sure. Especially because like it's a non-contact. He wasn't playing like just random, but it's like thank God that they found it because he's still young. He can get over that, recover from that, and next season
Exactly.
if they mess around, get Cooper Flag over there or Ace Bailey or any decent college player right now, they might have a squad.
They're gonna have a squad, yeah, and with De'Aaron Fox, you know what I like about De'Aaron Fox going over there and having Chris Paul over there. It's only gonna be more knowledge for him for that game. You know what I mean? So it's like
the effect that Chris Paul is having on Wemby already is just crazy. You see it like, oh, this kid is he's getting all the intangibles that he needs. He's learning from Pop, Tim, Chris Paul. Now it's like he's gonna have his handprints all over the game once he really get a team around him that's competent, that can compete, that can shoot and just work well around him. He's gonna be running this league for another 6-7 years whenever he decides he don't want to play ball no more.
Exactly. Okay. So let me ask you this question.
What's up?
What would you tell sons that maybe be going through a disconnection with their fathers? What type of advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them, if you genuinely want to be a better parent for your kids, you should fix the relationship with your parents or fix the relationship with your father if you want to be a better father. Because even if you didn't necessarily have the best father, you can learn from their mistakes. You can take actions that they didn't, or get an understanding of the emotions that they maybe made you feel. But you gotta want to put in that work. You gotta want to fix that connection. You gotta want to communicate. Because at the end of the day, like, your father's still a man. He's gonna go about his life as a man the same way you would. So if you don't take that pride and maybe put it aside and just say, hey, you know what, I want to talk. I want to learn some things from you, or I just want to maybe let you know how I'm feeling about our relationship. I think you gotta really want that extra effort. But a main reason for me is, like, I always said, like, because I always hear your voice in the back of my mind when I was a little kid. Oh, these gonna be things you're gonna tell your son, or this gonna be things you're gonna be able to show your son, or this gonna be something that you're gonna be able to tell your son, and he's gonna feel you on that because you done been through it. So it's like being able to, like, understand that at a young age. Even now, like, I'm learning, like, there's things I can learn from you on a day-to-day basis that I can, from my junior, like, I can make sure he's good on a certain level of things, like, even at a youngin'.
Right.
But yeah, so what would you say about you, like, on the fathers, and like how would they be able to maybe mend that relationship with their son?
Well, I would tell them first, honestly, just be patient. There is no rule book when it comes to parenting. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of learn as you go, but at the same time, be open-minded in the sense to kind of have an understanding of who your son is, because I think sometimes a lot of fathers and sons, where the disconnection comes is because the father sometimes forgets what it's like to be 26, what it's like to be in those shoes, you know what I mean? And I think what ends up happening is, because they're not looking back, they're only seeing forward and what their expectations is, that they have a tendency to kind of like be closed-minded.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing to do is be patient, be open-minded, and have some type of understanding. You know, like I said, there is no rule book, but when you get a son that, you know, because I knew from early you were going to be independent just from how you were. So it wasn't for me to stop that. It was for me to nurture it, teach you but at the same time also let you grow, and I think that's a big problem with parents. It's like they try to stop, and you can't do that. You got to kind of allow him or her, but we're talking about father and son. You got to kind of allow them to grow and make those mistakes, but at the same time, be right there and let them know, like, it's okay. This is what happens, and like you said, mending the relationship and learning from each other is key, so it's just being open-minded and being patient, man. Keep God first and just really just take your time and have an understanding for each other. I think sometimes as parents, like, I've never tried to be your friend. I wanted to be your father. You had a lot of friends, but that still didn't mean me and you couldn't have a relationship to where it's not always, strict and you got to do this type of, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted you to be able to come to me and tell me anything, no matter what it was, and I wanted to be able to share my experiences with you, whether it was right or wrong, because if I don't do that, then when it comes to that point in your life, you're not going to look to come to me because you're going to be like, well, my dad doesn't understand because, he just doesn't seem like he remembers what it's like to be 26, 27 years old. You know what I mean? So,
and
that's all. Just
that's something I valued a lot too, especially like going into college, like that freedom that you allowed me to like either make my own mistakes or fall when I've been knocked down. That was something that I took going into college and being around these people that necessarily didn't have to be in those situations or were always like very sheltered and closed in. So being able to navigate with any different type of like race, ethnicity, gender people was something that like I found value in because of the things that you taught me, because you allowed me to go out and take the train that at this time of the day just to figure out how to go some places, just to figure things out.
Because you was growing up in the city.
Exactly.
You was growing up in New York City, and it's a fast pace. And I know for me, like, you got to experience New York City from a way that I never did. You actually got to grow up. I was a man when I got to New York City. I was 22. So, you know what I mean? When you experienced it, you went through the junior highs, to the high schools, to the college, and now living there, full-fledged. I was just living there for so long, working, doing what I got to do, every day. But the only way I knew to let you grow was to let you go in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, I had to push you out there to kind of let you go experience things. Sometimes you were going to fall on your ass. That's natural. You know what I mean? But one thing you knew, I was always going to be there. I'm not too far. You know what I mean? Even though you fell, I'm watching you. I'm telling you to get up, but I'm watching from afar. But at the same time, I know you because you're my child. You're a young man child. I knew you were going to be able to get up. You were going to have to go through that, but yeah, I'm very proud of you. I see who you have become and who you are becoming, so it's just, that's one thing I would want fathers and sons to get out of this show. Find that bond, find that connection, you know what I mean? Because fathers and sons are dope, man. Like, that's just one of the biggest blessings in the world. All kids are, whether it's fathers and daughters, mothers and daughters, but we're speaking from our, way of living, so that's it.
I mean, with that being said, fathers, sons, leave any questions, comments that y'all got. We want to hear more.
Please.
We want to hear how this is helpful. We want to hear how we can help you. Any advice, anything. Leave something about Luka, the trades, anything. Talk it up. Yeah.
And we got more coming, you know what I mean? Because that's what the Royal Code is. The Royal Code is just, it's not about secrets. It's about having that communication and that conversation to where, it's something that we all can relate to.
Have that understanding between each other as men, as black men, fathers, sons.
Exactly.
We are somebody's son at the end of the day.
Minorities, is because it's tough times we going through, so we have to stick together, but it always starts at home. It starts with your family, and one thing I always know, any man that doesn't take care of his kids, no matter what he got going on, is less than a man. And I'm not talking about once your kids become adults, if they decide to go their own way, that's their decision. But from that time of the child to grow them up, you got to be there, man. So on that note, this is the King to a Prince, the Royal Code. I'm Corey the King.
Mari the Prince. We'll holla at you.
And we are out.